Alright, today we're going to look at where to start with the 1911. Let's say that you are a brand new shooter. Maybe you've owned a few plastic guns, or maybe this is your very first pistol to buy. But I want to talk about a good way to go, and I'm going to show you how I got to where we're at today, which is the GI pistol. The GI pistol is what we're going to look at. Got him stored right here in the box, but I want to give you an introduction to how I got to him. First off, I want to say a big thank you to the 1791 company. They provided these nice leather holsters for me, and I do represent them as an affiliate. Glad to say they've got an excellent product. I really like it a lot. I've got to where I carry these as my everyday carry holster. One is on the farm and one goes to town with me all the time. This one's got a backup magazine holder in it. I usually carry that one. This is more of a farm one right here, but they're both very nice holsters. Well built, American cowhide, built by American company, and these are hand sewn, one at a time, hand built. This is not built on a computer. It's not just a high production thing. They are steam pressurized, probably onto a pattern that's very much exactly like your gun. I bought both of these in the 5-inch model. Even though the gun you see here is a 4 1/4 Commander, it easily fits and leaves an extra 3/4 of an inch there. But they did an excellent job on that too. You can see that they cut that absolutely perfect so that your barrel is there, can let the dust fall out of your barrel or any water dripping off the end. But if you sit down on something hard, maybe something, a steel frame, something like that, the leather will kiss first and not your muzzle. So just exactly right. I like that a lot. So if you want to get yourself, there are probably 25 different holster companies out there. Some of them are really junk, some of them are higher quality, but this has got it all. It's got high quality, very good price, excellent customer service, and a very wide variety of holsters. You can get cross draw, you get shoulder holsters, you can get these designed for open carry, you can get a two-tone. They use a brown cow and a black cow and sew the two cows together. And now those cows can be an important part of your life, and they become hamburgers and steaks, but they give their skin for this job so that you got something pretty to carry your gun with. I have got a lot of compliments walking into Walmart, Tractor Supply, and also at the old Lowe's buying lumber. People say, man, I like that carry rig. I like your gun, but I like that holster a lot too. So if you want a nice looking holster that will draw some nice compliments and at the same time does a good job carrying your gun, that's 1791. Say, where'd that number come from? That's the year that they started working on getting the Second Amendment all set up and got it adopted. So that's where that comes from. You're a Second Amendment supporter, you get you a 1791 holster, and that can emphasize what your beliefs are. So, how did I get to this TISAS? Well, the first TISAS was this one right here. It's my wife's, and we'll talk about it. Let's go ahead and set this pretty boy aside for just a minute. We'll get back to him. We'll get back to him in just a minute. But this is my wife's gun here. I'll set that there. That's her rig, and we're going to go ahead and check it empty. There's her rig. I'll lay it out where you can see it clearly. This gun is a TISAS, and this is their $600 package. This is called a Stingray, Commander size. It is 4.25 inches in length. They chop off 3/4 of an inch. I've added a few little parts to it, the grips. I've added a nice EGW slide stop and EGW heavy-duty stainless steel mag release. There's some things I added. So this is the first thing I'm going to tell you. TISAS is an excellent company. They make all real gun parts inside this, no MIM. And the other thing I like about it is the price range is good. It's got all the features I want. It's got the Ed Brown style bobtail. It's got the nice full-size grip. But the first thing that I noticed, now this is a history of how I got where I'm at. The first thing I noticed on this gun when I picked it up was it was over-sprung. I mean, every spring on it. When I went to cock the hammer, just thumb the hammer, it was very heavy. The standard hammer spring, mainspring on a 1911 is supposed to be 23 pounds. I think this was about 30. Now you'll notice it doesn't look like I'm working real hard to cock this now. That's because I resprung it. So that spring was too heavy. When my wife needed to be able to cycle this the first time to get used to the gun, she'd begin to pull back on the slide and she could not operate that. She couldn't operate it. It was too heavy. But now it's buttery smooth and very easy to operate. So how did you get it that way? Well, one thing I do is I use some of this Rig universal grease. That's not what made it light, but that is what made it run a little smoother. So put a little touch of that right there. Lock this slide to the rear. Put a little touch of it on the barrel right there. Some on the rails right here. And now you've got a buttery smooth gun because you got gun grease on it. So what made it so easy to pull? Change the springs. Change the springs out. The spring on a commander sized gun is supposed to be an 18-pound spring. This one felt like it was 22 or 24. So I dropped her spring from what was supposed to be an 18 down to a 16. So now it has a 16-pound progressive rate spring that came from WOLFF, and WOLFF is where you want to go get your springs. You can set these guns up really nice with WOLFF springs. So that recoil spring was too heavy. I dropped it 2 pounds. This main spring that is for the hammer was supposed to be 24, felt more like 30. Anyway, supposed to be 24, I dropped it to 18. So now when she goes to cock the hammer, it's very easy to cock. And when you cycle the slide on a 1911 pistol, any hammer-fired pistol, you are working against 2 springs. One is the recoil spring inside here, the other is the hammer spring here. So when you pull that slide to the rear, you're operating 2 springs. So if you make those 2 springs a little lighter, now it makes it where it's real easy for a woman to operate, or a man that maybe he has some arthritis issues, or maybe you're trying to teach a younger shooter how to shoot. There's no reason to have real heavy springs in the gun. One of the reasons TISAS does that is they're trying to maintain reliability long term. And we don't need it to be reliable for 20 years because I can go in and replace the springs every couple of years if I want to. We don't have to do that. I can check them. I'm pretty much the maintenance man on the 1911s on our farm, and they're an easy gun to maintain, no problem at all. So another spring on here that was very difficult for my wife was pushing the button right here to let the mag out. It was a very stiff spring. You had to almost stand on it with your thumb. So I replaced that spring. So now you can see it's very easy to take the mag out, and you put the mag in. It's a little tap and it overcomes it, no problem. Now see that, watch this. I wish you had feel-o-vision, but here it is, just a little push and out comes the mag, no problem. Do it one more time, make it fall this time, and there it goes. So which springs did you replace? I replaced the recoil spring. I replaced the mainspring, this mainspring housing down here that's for the hammer. I replaced the spring for the mag release, and the last spring that I redid, didn't have to replace, is the flat leaf spring that lays in here that's got 3 different springs on it. It looks like this right here. Lay this out so you can see it. That's what it looks like. We'll talk about this later, but I went ahead and just used the factory one that was in there and made the necessary bends to give her a nice lightweight trigger that she desired. So that's what I did. I basically took a TISAS $600 gun, I souped it up, got the right springs in it for her to where she liked it, and I gave her a nice light target trigger in this. She wanted it to be about 2.5 pounds, and that's where we ended up. It's a very crisp, again, I wish you had feel-o-vision, but you can watch it. I mean, I won't have to pull very hard, and that thing is very crisp, very light trigger. So what does that do for you? Well, it makes you a more accurate shooter. So now if she wants to target shoot on the farm, shoot at cans or little blocks of wood in the falling out in the pond, it works really good for that. So the better you can hit the less bullets you need. You don't need a 20 round mag, you just need to be able to hit with what you've got. So that got us to go to the next thought, which is I wanted a starter gun, okay? This is probably not the gun you want to start with if you're getting your first gun. This $600 might be a little bit out of your price range. Not everybody's made out of money. You probably don't want to go this route. This is getting off into the $1,000 bracket. This is a Springfield range officer target model, and we'll go ahead and check it, prove it empty. But it is a very nice gun. It is a target type of a gun, and it's always got some scratches on it. I've got it kind of mirror polished stainless steel. It's a nice gun. It's one that you'll want to consider. You'll probably want to have someday, or something like the range officer. Very nice gun, but that's $1,000. So you probably don't want to start there. And if you want to learn how to modify these a little bit and really customize them and make them be exactly what you want, that's probably not where you want to start. You don't want to start there. So where could you start? Well, let's look at that. We're going to go into where to start, and I'm going to open this bad boy up. Let's have a look. This is a very good place to start. You get you $350, and that's a good place to start right there, right in front of you. That, I'm going to go ahead and zoom this in just a little bit. That is a TISAS. This is a copy. This is a copy of a very famous pistol, very rich history. This pistol is a copy of the 1943 Remington Rand. Let's see if I can prop this up. We want to give this proper credit today. We'll prop it up like that for a minute so you can see it like that. If you buy this pistol, you're going to spend $350. It will come with this little tag right here that tells you this is a forged 1911. That means the slide and the frame and the barrel are all forged steel, very strong. It is set up with a it's set up with a 70 series internal, which is what Colt designed first. That's the best safety system, best trigger system. It is also it'll take any 1911 magazines, and this one has been machined while it was hardened. So they harden it first and then they machine it. Some of the old 1911s had problems with cracks in the frames right here because they would be too soft. So they have hardened this overall and then done the machining on it. And of course our steel is a lot better now than it was back in 1911. But like I say, they are copying, and what they do with this copy is they give you a set of really nice walnut grips. You see those? Those are Turkish walnut. That's the only thing that I've done to this gun so far. I took these walnut grips off because I just want to protect them. I'm going to use this as a knock-around farm gun. Comes with a little wrench. This is for your barrel bushing, which you don't need. This gun is easy to take apart without the wrench. It comes with a little plastic lock, which I wouldn't suggest that you lock your gun up because it's not much good if it's all locked up. Just put it in a safe place, keep it away from kids. This particular one comes with 2 magazines, one here and one that's currently in the gun. Comes with a little flag to show you that the chamber is empty. So where do we start? Well, let's say that you bought you a pistol like this, and one of the things you're not going to know if you're brand new to 1911s is you don't know how good they really can be. These that I told you on my wife's gun was oversprung. That was her gun over here. Her gun was oversprung, meaning that, and I don't even know if that's a word, but it's a word for me. You can call Webster and have him add that to the dictionary. Oversprung means the springs were supposed to be X amount of pressure, and now they are 50% more than that. That's oversprung. So this one I figured would be the exact same way. So we're going to have a look at this today, and if it's not like I like it, I'm going to show you exactly how to tune this gun to make it where you can use it even as a target gun. These don't have target sights, But this is going to be my farm gun, but I still want to be able to hit with it. I want it to cock easy. I want my wife to be able to pick it up and cycle the slide. So let's have a look at this bad boy. Let's pull him out of the box, get this box out of the way. Nobody wants to sit and look at a box all day or a holster. They want to get right down to brass tacks, get down to the gun. Now, I'm going to tell you that this gun, I have taken this out and shot it, okay? When you get a brand new gun, one of the first things you should do is go ahead, clean it, check it, put a little bit of oil on it, take it out in the yard or your shooting range. I'm blessed to live out in the sticks in Arkansas. I can shoot anywhere. I can shoot inside the house, right out the front door. If a big deer walks by or a hog or something, we can shoot anywhere, so we don't have that as a problem. But get you one of these. Let's see if my camera, I'm going to zoom this in. I want you to see all these details. I'm going to make today's is going to be kind of like a podcast. We're going to make it to where you get to really see the details of this thing, man. That's I'm all about the details. I'm going to zoom this in a little bit right there. And what we will do, I am bad. I'm not a professional at this, but I'm sure trying to be. I'm bad about getting out of my focal range. So let's put this target right here and have a look at the camera. All right, that's right in the center of my crosshairs, my grid pattern on my camera. So here's what we do. You take a new gun like this and you shoot it, okay? You go out and shoot it a bunch. There's no problem with that. And make sure the thing is just going to run, okay? What that does is that checks out basically the fit of your gun. It checks out your controls and it checks out your extractor. Your extractor is the hook inside here that grabs the brass. That's what this rim is for. They call this rimless, but it's not really rimless. It's just that the rim is the same length, width as the shell casing. But anyway, that extractor claw, it hooks on that right there and pulls it out. So that is and it also feeds it when it's feeding in. That claw hooks on right there in that little valley of the rim and helps that bullet go into the chamber. So the extractor claw is a big factor of why 1911 may or may not run good. That and the magazine that they sell you. They do sell these with a Metgar magazine. These are Parkerized and they are good quality mags. This is a standard military style. It's a 7-round, but it has the new feed lips that are kind of hybrid. This is very close to the GI mag lips, but I'm going to tell you, it runs good. I've only run ball ammo. That's what only thing I shoot on the farm is ball ammo. Let's go ahead and get this little flag out of there. We don't need him. We'll lock this to the rear. Where'd that flag go? He went somewhere. He tried to get away, didn't he? He sure did. He went right down the old mag well. Get out of there, buddy. Okay, so let's take a look at this gun. And I like to basically present what are problems for me, okay? So let's do the good part and the bad part. The good part is this gun is well built. It is built out of forged steel. It now has the GI looking plastic grips on it. They really copied this well. 1943 Remington Rand, which was a typewriter company, but man, I mean, they got everything right. If you want a GI looking gun, it's got the lanyard loop on the bottom here. It has the scalloped out spot for your trigger. It has the small thumb safety. It has the slightly longer grip safety, which is kind of like a beaver tail, which keep you from getting bit. It has the skinny hammer that the Remington Rand used. Colt used a wider hammer, and the Remington Rand used that skinny hammer, so they copied that. It has the small military GI sights. Some people make fun of those. That's not a problem. If you aim small, you miss small. It has also the arched or curved mainspring housing. They even went to the detail of putting eight individual ribs on here, which is a military thing. It says United States property on the side, like you've really went into the Army and got one of their guns. It says M1911 A1 U.S. Army. That's beautiful. And then the slide itself, they kept it totally slick. No big writing on the slide. And then TISAS, being from Turkey, one of their names is Zig something or other, and they put that micro miniature right here so it's not offensive to anybody. Nobody has to worry about that. This gun is built by Turkey, but we've got some good U.S. veteran boys that works in SDS in Tennessee that help with the programming, where they cut this on the CNC machine. So it is supporting some veterans to be able to deal with this gun. The Civilian Marksmanship Program has adopted this gun. They've approved this gun to be shot on their ranges in Alabama at the Civilian Marksmanship Program. You can pick one of these up there, buy one for about $350, and you can shoot it on their range during their 1911 competition. You do not have to have the original GI gun from 1943. You can shoot this repro, this reproduction. It also has the short military trigger, which is a big factor. And then one more feature which most people will overlook: the purists like to have this ejection port nice and high. Back in my day, when I first got into 1911s, one of the first things that we did was we wanted to make sure the gun was more reliable, and everybody said, well, you've got to mill that down. Keep milling that down and then flare it at the back. You got to do all this work to it. And John Moses Browning didn't think that when he designed this gun. He took this gun out onto the range the first day with the Army there present and fired 6,000 rounds out of a gun just like this out when they were in the proving grounds in 1911. Shot 6,000 rounds, and every time they get up to about 500, maybe 1,000 rounds, it'd get so hot it'd burn your hand, and all they had to take care of that problem was a bucket of water. So they'd dunk in their bucket of water and continue to shoot. So after 2 days of shooting, it fired 6,000 rounds with zero failure. No failure to eject, no failure to fire, no failure to lock back. Every single function worked 6,000 times in a row. No changing of parts, no extra oiling. All they did was just dunk it in water to keep from burning their hand off. So this is one of the most reliable guns in the world. And some of the problems you see today is because people put the wrong ammo, or they use the wrong magazine, or they don't know how to tune an extractor claw. So I hope you learned something there. This is for beginners, but there may be some advanced people that don't think about those things too. So say, what is the problem? You said you're going to mention some problems. Well, this gun, just like my wife's gun, let's test it, okay? Let's see if it might be oversprung. Here's the first test. Let's cock the hammer. I go to cock the hammer. Let's see, I do it with this finger right here. Pull the hammer to the rear. Uh-oh, uh-oh. That is not a 23-pound mainspring. No way. That feels more like 30 to me, okay? Yeah, that is a heavy mainspring, okay? So that's one thing we're going to fix today. We're going to replace the main spring right in here. We're going to get rid of that heavy monster spring. Say, how can you justify doing that? I'll tell you. Here's how I know for sure. This is the big thing. Inside here is a firing pin in that slide. All these new modern guns that are built in 2024 have a firing pin that's no longer 45 caliber firing pin. It's the smaller diameter pin that's made for 9mm and 38 Super. So that's the first thing. The tip of that pin is smaller, meaning that it can knock a dent in the primer much easier than a Fat Boy 45. So when you're hitting that primer, if you're using a smaller drill bit, a smaller firing pin, it'll hit harder. The second thing about this firing pin is it's not heavy steel, it's lightweight titanium. So therefore, you do not have to have a spring that John Moses Browning designed around this gun, because he didn't see 2024 that they were going to use a lightweight titanium small diameter pin. So he probably would have built a spring much lighter than this. So that's one thing right there. Remember, when you cycle the slide on a 1911, especially a new shooter or a female shooter, and you go to rack that slide to the rear, golly, that, I'm telling you. Now these are cut razor sharp. These nice grids they put on here, that thing is, it's nice. It holds good. It won't let you slide. But the problem with this is that thing is stinking hard to cock, man. Now it's easier. Wait, how did it get easier? Well, that's because I cocked the hammer. when you cycle the slide on 1911 the first time, it has to cock the hammer and work against the spring that's inside here. So let's check that spring now. It should be, on a government model gun like this, should be 16 pounds. Let's check it. Nope, that's not a 16. Nope. So we're going to go down lower than 16. I'm going to put a 14-pound spring. I'm going to use a WOLFF variable rate, which means it'll kind of start off softer. It's going to be start off hard, and then it'll get a little softer, kind of like a compound bow. If you've ever pulled a compound bow, they're pretty amazing. When you first start pulling, it's real hard, but when it gets back there to where you need to hold it to make that perfect shot, it's real light because it cams over, breaks over, and it just makes it easier. Well, those variable rate recoil springs are the same way. They kind of start hard when you get started, but then once you get rolling, where you're going to run out of energy, it makes it soft and easy. So let's check the next spring. We know that one is too heavy. We know the recoil is too heavy. Let's check the mag spring. Let's see what it feels like. Put the magazine in. Here's your first test. How hard do you have to push to get the mag to break that spring over? Uh-oh. That's pretty ridiculous. Okay, now how hard do you have to push to get the magazine out? Uh-oh. I'm having to stand on it. That's not good. They wanted to make sure that didn't fall out. Golly, that thing is heavy. So that will definitely get replaced. Let's review. Hammer spring, also known as the mainspring on 1911. We will replace it. The magazine release spring is way too heavy. We will replace it. The recoil spring, the one that's in here that cycles the slide back forward after the gun fires and chambers your next round, gets you in the battery, that is way too heavy for farm use, for me, and all that stuff, for what I like, okay? Now you can leave them heavy. You can take this gun out of the box and just shoot it and be happy with it. No problem. I'm not going to fuss at anybody for it. But if you want to slick one up and make it really nice, I'm showing you how to do it where you can make it really nice. The last set of springs we're going to test, we're going to test the springs inside there that control the trigger. And they are inside. You can't see them, but they look like this right here. They look like a flat leaf spring, except it's got 3 little springers to it. All right, that's a piece of spring metal, and it has 3 different functions. I'm going to cover these right now. Might as well get this out of the way. The first function, let me find me a pointer. The first one you see, the one that's radical, that sticks out the very most of all of them, if you pull one out of the package brand new, is this one on your far right. And all that one does is it makes this safety right here pop back out. Okay, that's all it does, the grip safety. So the one on your far right is your grip safety. The one in the middle is a spring that gives you your trigger reset. It is basically the 1 to 2 pound that's your initial take up on your trigger. This one feels like about 3 or 4. Your last spring, which is on the far left, it's the one that's got a little screwdriver tip on it. That last spring on your far left is the one that's responsible for the actual sear break. The last, what I'll call stage 2 of the trigger. So the middle one does stage 1, which is 1 to 2 pounds. This one, like I said, about 3 or 4. And the last one on your far left is the sear spring. That's what breaks the hammer and the sear separate from each other and makes that hammer fall. So let's check these. We're going to set this aside. I'm going to check this trigger and see what it feels like for pull weight on the trigger. All right, the take up, stage 1, like I say, it's about 3 pounds, which is very heavy. 3 pounds, it only really needs to be about 1.5, so it's double that weight. And then the second stage, I'm still pulling. I didn't put this on a gauge because my gauge will not go that high. Oh gosh, man. All right, this is where you need feel-o-vision, but you're going to have to just listen to me and trust my voice. That is 3, 4, that's 5 pounds, 5 pounds, 6 pounds. That's about a 6-7 pound trigger right there. Maybe even more. Yeah, that's about a seven pound trigger. So say, why don't you just leave it like that? You can. This is fine. If you want to buy this gun for $350 and say what Dad said to me all the time, just leave well enough alone, you can do that. You can take this out and shoot it. Some of those springs will lighten up over time, and they'll get better after you shoot a few thousand rounds. They may limber up. Leave everything cocked, leave everything maybe open, work it a lot. It may get a little bit better. That trigger is never going to be a light trigger though. It's never going to be a target trigger, that's for sure. I'm not going to try to make this into a target gun, but we're going to lean that direction. And you're going to see me shoot some videos where I split playing cards in half with it, guaranteed. And that'll be fun. So here's the deal. We want to make this gun where it's smoother, easier to operate for a new shooter, for a female. And I'm leaning that way quick. As I get older, I like stuff that's set up for a girl because it just makes it easy on Grandpa also. So no reason for it to be real hard to operate. It's a beautiful gun. Most people love the 1911 because it's like the old small block Chevy of my day. It just begs to be modified and played with and altered. Now, we're not going to do anything to this gun that's illegal. We're not going to do anything that's unsafe. And we're not going to do anything to modify its total function. It's still going to function the same, just a little smoother and a little bit lighter on the hands. So what is the last one? That was that trigger spring. Let's review which ones we're going to work on. We're going to replace the recoil spring that's underneath here. We're going to replace the spring here for the magazine release. We're going to replace the spring inside here in the mainspring housing, which is for the hammer. That's 3. We're also going to replace this one right here, which is for the grip safety. The middle one is for the take-up, and the last one is the sear trigger spring brake. So we're going to replace this whole unit. I've already got this one tuned. It's tuned to my liking. It should be around 3.5 pounds, which is great. So that's what we're going to do next. I'm going to go ahead and lock this to the rear so that you can see that gun laid out just like that. And next we will go ahead and break out the tools and take it apart here in just a few minutes. Over and out for now.